But why is it beneficial to prioritise and do more strength training probably than any other exercise?
The vast majority of people are under muscle. We kind of spoke about that in the last episode. And when you're in a calorie deficit, like cortisol is a lot higher and you are just prone to accelerated muscle loss. So most people that have dieted kind of realize that they do it for long enough, they'll lose a lot of weight, but they're smaller, which is good, but they kind of look at themselves and they're like, oh, but I'm like that skinny fat, which is generally the term that people use. And it's just like, well, you're skinny fat because you've dieted and you've not maintained any kind of lean body mass that you had when you were at a higher body weight. So therefore, while you have lost fat, you've also lost muscle. So you don't look like a toned, athletic version of yourself.
I'm Kitty Bleakfield, co-founder of New Strength and Saturée, creator of pro-metabolic food supplements and seriously saturated skincare. And today I'm back with my co-host, Craig McDonald. Welcome back to the podcast, Craig.
Thanks for having me.
And today...
Quite the pleasure.
Today is part 2 of the road to the photo shoot. So if you haven't listened to that one, go back and listen to part 1. Basically, Craig decided that he wanted to...
recorded it 2 minutes ago and then I went to the piss and now we're recording. So we've still got the same clothes on.
So basically Craig wants to wear those little grundies and take some sexy photos. That's exactly what it is. Every night, right, so we have this mirror in our bedroom on the wall. Every single night, without fail.
It's a huge mirror. If anyone had this fucking mirror in there,
he does these little poses. He does his little bodybuilding poses. I'm like, you just want to compete in the little gruds. Anyway, so I thought, fuck it. I'm going to do it with him, but I don't have to do his long dieting phase, as we established in the first podcast that Craig's fatter than me. Anyway, so we talked all about nutrition, how we're going to attack the building phase, the fat loss phase, different strategies that we use in the building phase versus fat loss phase. And we just talked about clients and, how to calculate the surplus, the deficit. So it was actually quite an interesting podcast, I think.
I think so.
And so this one, we're just going to talk all about the training, as Dazza would say. So if you don't know what the fuck why we're speaking like that, Dazza, the PT, who gets on Instagram and does some...
He's a loose cannon, that fella.
He is. He's got a good mullet. Go and check out our Instagram page, and he has some great training tips. Do Dazza.
Who's Dazza? I don't know him.
Just do it.
No,
just do it. Just do it.
The
Just
alter
do it.
ego. No, he's
just
not
come
on.
on. Just do it. Come on.
He's not on the fucking podcast, all right? Now fucking get on with it, will you?
So that now we can talk about the training. So just before we jump into it, I think a lot of women, like obviously if you want to lose weight, you need to eat in calorie deficits. You don't have to strength train.
Correct.
You don't.
No.
But why is it beneficial to prioritise and do more strength training probably than any other exercise?
Yeah, well, the vast majority of people are under muscle. We kind of spoke about that in the last episode. And when you're in a calorie deficit, like cortisol is a lot higher and you are just prone to accelerated muscle loss. So, I think everyone's most people that have dieted kind of realize that they do it for long enough, they'll lose a lot of weight, but they're smaller, which is good, but they kind of look at themselves and they're like, oh, but I'm like that skinny fat, which is generally the term that people use. And it's just like, well, you're skinny fat because you've dieted and you've not maintained any kind of lean body mass that you had when you were at a higher body weight. So therefore, while you have lost fat, you've also lost muscle. So you don't look like a toned, athletic version of yourself. So the toned look or the athletic look is having more muscle and less body fat, right? But if you just diet and don't train, then you lose the muscle. You don't really look
any different. And I just find that, and this is just from working with thousands of women, the ones that actually strength train and train hard and learn how to lift properly, they can eat more food. They can have higher deficit calories. Like it's just better. Yeah. Yeah. And muscle has lots of health benefits too.
100%. So many health benefits. It's outrageous how much upregulation happens from a lot of your organs as a result of going through a strength training workout, and then the recovery process that happens as a result. Like insulin sensitivity improves, like glycogen uptake, movement of like sodium and calcium around the body. Like, the list goes on and on. There's more studies kind of coming out now where it's showing more the acute benefits. Like we always knew the long-term benefits, improved bone density and things like that, improved blood pressure, but now we're actually understanding at an acute level what a strength training workout does, like even during the session and then slightly after, like the upregulation of all of these the organs, and just things just improve. Like, we always sort of say, like, strength is never a weakness. It's just like that is absolutely the case.
And just being capable, I think. And, a lot of the women that we work with too, they'll be in their 40s and 50s, just mobility. And one of our friends, he's a school friend of mine, I've known him for like 30 years, Toby, we caught up with him recently. He's a physio for elderly.
Exercise physio.
And he was saying the exact same thing. He's like, he does all strength training with his clients and just rehabilitates them basically, and how important it is. Who's that guy who was saying it's the 90 or 99? He lives at, like, still goes to the gym.
We met him when we were in Sydney. We went to this gym up in Manly. I can't remember. I think it was called the Diggers something.
It was a good gym.
It was really, really cool. And I can't remember how I got talking to him, but yeah, his name's Mel. He trains twice a week, and he's 90 years old, and he still drives himself. Like, I was like, really? I'm like, so, like, do you still live alone? Do you what's? He's like, yep. He's like, I live alone. He's like, me going to the gym and I was watching him. He was on the chest press, getting on the pull downs, like he was doing supported squats. It was amazing. But for him, he was like, this is how I maintain my independence.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to go into a home. I want to live and die in my house, and this is how I do it. He's like, I just don't understand why more people don't do it. And I'm like, hey, you preach it to the choir,
with
man.
You. Yeah.
What a legend.
I thought it was so good. It was so good. So look, obviously we all want to fucking look better. We look good naked, but the health benefits and just feeling good and strong and capable, it's such an empowering, amazing feeling. Yep. So anyway, let's talk about what's the goal in the building phase with the strength training?
To get as strong as possible.
Okay, so how are we doing that?
Lifting weights.
But talk a little bit more detail about the structure and shit, and like what.
So the structure of how I'm going about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me specifically, I've been training 5 days. My split over the last 13 months has just kind of changed a little bit, and the changes have sort of happened as a result of the particular structure with the particular exercises I was choosing on the particular days was then starting to affect my recovery as I started to get stronger. So there were certain, exercises that I could do a little bit more frequently, and then once I really progressed those along with the other big compound movements that I progressed, I then had to go, okay, something needs to change here because my performance is starting to go backwards. I'm feeling more burnt out even after a deload. So I'm like, okay, make an adjustment to the exercise selection, pick a movement that's still working that particular muscle group, but in a way that's got a greater stimulus to fatigue ratio, right? So I'm getting more out of that movement. I'm being able to progress it, but it's not creating a lot of that central nervous system fatigue. And the way my structure is actually working at the moment is, so Monday is a upper body push session, so chest, shoulders, triceps, and I add in some biceps as well. Tuesday is it's legs and back. So the way it works is I do stiff legs, and then 2 sets of stiff leg deadlifts, 2 sets of lying leg curls, 2 sets of hammer rows, 2 sets of single arm cable rows, and then 2 sets of pull downs. And then I do 1 set of Bulgarian dumbbell Bulgarian split squats, 1 set of leg extensions, and then 1 high rep set, like a 20 rep set of leg presses. And I've just found for what I need to continue to grow my legs, I don't need a tremendous amount of volume. It just needs to be hard sessions, but it needs to be done in a way that allows maximum effort for recovery as well.
So you do 2 sets to failure?
So on the quads, it's only 1 set. So 1 set of Bulgarians, 1 set of leg extensions, 1 set of leg press. Yeah. Wednesday off. Thursday is again upper body push 2, so chest, shoulders, and triceps, but different variations of exercises. Friday is just an upper body pull session, so more pull downs, like just back work, biceps. And then Saturday is my big leg session, so that's where I'm doing V-hack squats, leg presses, seated leg curls, those sort of things. Sunday off, and then repeat. So the variation that I'm doing now is it's only relatively new. There's sort of been some changes just because of where I'm at from a strength point, and also some exercises just getting to the point where I just wasn't progressing them anymore. There needed to be that change because I just run it into the ground. So this one will pretty much work me through for the next, would I say 9 or 10 weeks of the gaining phase. And then I will then aim to hold all of my lifts for the next 4 weeks after that during that maintenance hold phase. And then at that point, hopefully they become the homeostasis. This is just
Yep.
what my capability is,
Yep.
and maintain them as best as I can while the calories start to come down.
Yeah, cool. And so I'm just doing 3 days a week just because that suits me. Full body, upper body, lower body. And yeah, I just do 2 sets to failure.
So you do a heavy top set.
Yeah.
First.
Do you know what I've been doing though? Like you said to me, if I can get 9, I keep the weight the same. But if I can only get 6, I'll drop the weight and try and do between 10 to 13.
On the second set, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I think obviously what you just want to be doing is week to week. Like I really like that progression system because I think you can get a lot of runway with it.
Yep.
And
well, it gives you two PBs on a set to set. So
Yeah.
the first set you've got a PB in the 6 to 9 rep range.
Yep.
You know, PB in the 10 to 13 rep range.
Yeah.
And they don't need to be hard rep ranges.
No.
And
like sometimes on like I'll go high rep ranges on say like a lat pull down or bicep curls.
absolutely.
I'll go up to like 15 to 20 maybe sometimes.
Yeah, some exercises
Yep.
make it because you can't make weight jumps
yeah.
consistently, like things
Yep.
like isolation exercise, bicep curls, lateral raises, etc. But interesting enough, like even though that's fairly my standard for my set 1, 6 to 9, set 2, 10 to 13, something like that. For my upper body pressing movements, I don't know why, but for some reason I get to 8 on my pressing, so my incline presses or chest press, whatever it is, and to get to 9 will take 2 or 3 extra weeks to just get there. For some reason, 8 seems to be my limit for pressing. So for me, on those exercises, it's 6 to 8 is the rep range. Everything else is 6 to 9. Now, I only make that call because I've got so much data that every time I try and do it, I'm like, I don't know why, my body just doesn't like 9. Just doesn't want to do it really, whatever. So I'm like, okay, I'll get to 8 and then I'll increase my weight and then I'll drop back down.
In some weeks you don't, like you stay the same.
Yeah.
Or you may not be feeling it. Yeah. And we've talked about this. It's not always every single week you're going to progress.
No.
Sometimes you'll just be the same, and the next week like, boom, you have some progression. So I think you got to stick with it, and you might be a bit tired or whatever. Okay, so what happens when we get to the fat loss phase?
From a training perspective?
Yes.
So all I'm trying to do at that point is just maintain the lifts within those 2 rep ranges as much as possible. Yeah. So I'm not trying to, because I'm in an energy deficit at that point, so my recovery is going to be less.
Yep.
So every time you break through a barrier, or you hit a new strength milestone, like you don't recover for free, right? You need, in order for you to do that, you're going to be needing at least those calories going in, or potentially at that point, and I've seen this a lot with people when they hit a certain milestone, they do their next week's check and they're like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm really hungry. Like I'm thinking about food a lot more. Yep. And that's just because their body, like you've hit this new, your body's going like, okay, we're now remodeling new tissue that we've never had before. So therefore we need some more food more calories in order to facilitate that. So that's something that I need to keep in mind, because I absolutely don't want to be in that scenario during a fat loss phase, because I don't have any extra food to add in. So all I've got to do is, like, at the end of my building phase and through the whole phase, let's say if I'm doing on the V-hack, I'm doing 200 kilos for a set of 8. Every single week of that fat loss phase,
you're just going to try. Sometimes you go backwards though. It depends on the severity of the deficit, and I think it also depends on how experienced you are as a lifter. Yeah. So like novice lifters, can we sit in our program, they'll make progress in a deficit.
Yes. Yeah, I won't absolutely not make it.
No.
And the thing is, I also need to be really specific on like my recovery and what my readiness is like. And what it might mean is that I'll auto-regulate my training a little bit more. That, say if I hit that 200 kilos, say on the V-hack, and it really was like, taxing. Man, that was hard. I won't even do the second set.
Yeah, because it's like you can tip yourself over the edge because you don't have the calories.
Yeah.
And I think not push as hard. Like I'll push harder. Yeah. When I've got more calories. Yes. And when I'm in a deficit, I won't push as hard. Yeah. Because it just fucks you.
It does fuck you. Can't. And the thing is, it's almost not necessary, because we know, especially if you go through a proper hold phase, we know at that point, in order to maintain what you've got, you can get away with about a third of the volume of what you've been doing. Yep. So, in a lot of ways, as the diet progresses, my training volume will actually come down just as a natural result of calories are getting lower, my body weight's coming down, I have less ability to recover. So therefore, there'll be just times where I just go, all I need to do right now is just send the signal to my body that I need to maintain this tissue. So if I do 200 for 8, that's the job done. Do anything more after that during a fat loss phase just doesn't make sense.
Yep.
Do you know? So I'll start off doing my full volume as it is, knowing that over time, as the DEVA comes down, it's probably going to drop back to more like 4 days. I'll still keep it at 5 days just because I like to be in that rhythm. But yeah, that some of the sessions might only last maybe 30 to 40 minutes at that stage.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you really have to prioritize sleep and keep stress low.
Yeah.
You know, because otherwise it's just too hard.
You've got no wiggle room, you know, and as it gets closer, you know, like there'll be just a lot of times I just say no to events or situations. Yeah. Do you know? Because I'm like, well, look, I just don't have the wiggle room.
Yeah, and it's not forever.
No.
It's only a short period of time.
No.
Yeah, so, yeah, we'll and steps-wise too, potentially that's something that could increase towards the end, maybe.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, that's why we have data, because that'll become obvious if we need to do that or not.
Yep.
And for me, like I always hit 12,000 steps a day. That's really easy for me to do. Obviously, another reason why my calories have continued to go up so much over this time. So it'll be just, you know, if I need to, I can. You know, that's a lever that we can kind of pull on if we need to. But I don't really, maybe the last couple of weeks I might need to push it up. I don't really envisage that sort of happening. Yep. My food's so high and I can maintain that pretty well that as those calories just come down, my body will change the way I need it to.
Yep. Anything else?
No, I don't think so. I think that's just the main point that I want to have home is that you shouldn't be, if you've done, you know, a recomp or a muscle gain phase properly enough for long enough.
The dieting shouldn't be that hard.
The dieting shouldn't be that hard, but the training should actually be easier. It's not easier because if you got less food coming in and you'll just feel like, oh man,
that's another point actually I just want to quickly make is you have to go with the mindset, this is not the time you're beating PBs or going, like this is not about performance.
No.
This is just about going through the motions, trying to hit the numbers and maintain and not worrying about it.
Yep.
Like
100%.
It's the dieting. You're trying to get the fat off.
Yep.
That's what you got to think, I think.
Yeah.
And don't get upset that you're not making progress because the progress is the fat loss.
Yeah. And I think that is one big key point that I've noticed a lot of people, but certainly over time competitors, is that they think because they're in a fat loss phase, they've got to do more training and they've got to start using things like drop sets and higher reps and stuff because they're like, you know, I've got to get this fat off, like I've got to be really pushing the intensity. I'm like, no, you want to do the opposite of that. Like all of that stuff should have been done during your muscle gain phase or before that, not when you're in an energy deficit. The whole goal about an energy deficit is just to maintain. So most people don't need to train. Like you still need to train with all the effort, but the actual total work will likely just come down because all you're doing is sending a signal to maintain at that point, not to gain.
Yeah.
So
good one. Thanks, Craig. All right.
Cool.
As always, take a screenshot of the episode and share your biggest takeaways on Instagram stories and tag me at KITTYBLOMFIELD. And each month I pick someone and they get a tub of Saturée Premium Collagen valued at $79. And we'll see you again next time.